Have you ever felt like you're, I don't know, caught in unseen forces in your own life? Or perhaps like you're playing a role others wrote for you without even really realizing it? Today, we're taking a deep dive into an ancient wisdom tradition, the Toltec, and exploring a truly powerful framework for personal freedom, the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Yeah, and we'll be drawing directly from the core text here, uncovering its really profound insights into how we perceive the world, and I think more importantly, how you can reshape your entire experience.
Exactly.
Our mission today is really to understand how society kind of imprints these beliefs onto us, leading to what the author calls a dream of hell, which sounds intense, but
It does.
but then discover how these four, deceptively simple agreements can actually guide you towards what he calls a personal heaven.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning with this really fascinating concept the author introduces, the smoky mirror. Now, this isn't just a neat metaphor, is it? It's more like a foundational Toltec insight into how we perceive reality itself.
That's right. The core idea is that everything, including you listening right now, is essentially made of light, pure energy. The ancient Toltecs saw this as, well, light perceiving light. Matter is just a mirror reflecting it all back.
But there's a catch.
There's this world of illusion, he calls it the dream, which acts like, well, smoke. It prevents us from seeing our true selves, which he says are pure love, pure light.
And that's where the name comes from, the smoky mirror.
Precisely. It's a reminder that while we are reflections of light, this sort of veil of collective interpretation, the dream of humans, it often obscures our true nature.
Okay, so that ancient perspective, how does it connect to, just our everyday lives now?
Well, it's profoundly relevant. The author basically posits that what you're seeing and hearing right now isn't, let's say, ultimate reality. It's actually a dream.
A dream, while we're awake.
Yeah, a dream with the brain awake, as he puts it. Your mind is constantly dreaming 24 hours a day, even when you're fully conscious. It's projecting this reality.
And this isn't just personal, it's bigger.
Oh, much bigger. It extends to society as a whole. He calls it the dream of the planet. This is the collective dream of billions of people. It encompasses all of society's rules, beliefs, laws, religions, cultures, governments, schools, even holidays. It's the whole matrix, essentially.
Okay, so if this dream of the planet is our collective reality, how does it actually get, imprinted onto us as individuals? The author has a pretty striking term for that process, doesn't he?
He does. He explains, we're born with the capacity to learn how to dream, right? And those who came before us, they teach us how to dream the way society dreams.
How did that teaching happen?
It happens as adults hook our attention, which is our ability to discriminate and focus, and they essentially put information into our minds. And the key method is repetition. Constant repetition. From parents, schools, religion, even, television, media, stories.
It's everywhere.
Exactly. Through this relentless input, we learn what to believe, what's acceptable, what's good or bad, right or wrong. And the crucial insight here, I think, is that we never truly choose these initial agreements. We don't even choose our own names.
We just absorb them.
We just absorb them. And our faith in what the adults tell us is so strong, so unquestioning at that stage, that this belief system ends up controlling our entire dream of life.
Wow. This sounds a lot like how those unseen forces we talked about at the start might take hold. The author calls this process the domestication of humans. That's a strong word.
It is. And he compares it directly to how we domesticate animals, using a system of punishment and reward.
Like good boy, good girl.
Exactly. You're told you're a good boy or good girl for compliance, for following the rules, and bad when you don't conform. This creates a deep fear of punishment and, alongside it, a really deep-seated need for the reward, which is often just attention, approval.
And the result of that, what does it do to us?
Well, the result is we start pretending to be what we are not, just to please others. We learn to perform. And ultimately, he says, we become a copy of mama's beliefs, daddy's beliefs, society's beliefs, and religion's beliefs.
So our own natural tendencies get lost.
They often get suppressed or lost in the process, yeah. We trade authenticity for acceptance.
And it doesn't stop there, does it? We internalize this whole system.
That's the next step.
Yes.
We become auto-domesticated. We don't even need the external authority figure anymore. We do it to ourselves.
So connecting this to the bigger picture, this belief system we've absorbed, it becomes like our internal rule book.
Precisely. The author calls it a book of law that rules our mind. And this book of law gives rise to two key players internally. First, there's the inner judge. This is the part of our mind that relentlessly, constantly judges everything we do, think, and feel, all based on this inherited book of law.
Always measuring us against the rules.
Always. And then there's the victim, the part of us that receives all those judgments. The victim carries the blame, the guilt, the shame. It's the voice that says, "Poor me, I'm not good enough, I never measure up."
And this entire structure, it's built on a foundation we didn't even choose.
Exactly. A belief system we never consciously chose. And the author makes a startling claim. He says 95% of these beliefs, these agreements in our book of law, are essentially lies, misinformation we've taken as truth.
And that leads to suffering.
Immense human suffering. He really highlights the injustice of how we make ourselves pay for one mistake, maybe a small one, thousands of times over, because our memory is powerful and that inner judge is just relentless.
That idea of paying thousands of times, it really hits home. So this common human experience, then, is what he calls the dream of hell.
Yes, a reality ruled by fear. And that fear produces all the secondary negative emotions. Anger, jealousy, envy, hate. It all stems from that fear generated by the judge and the victim.
He describes this internal state as the mitote.
Right, mitote, M-I-H-tote. It's a Toltec term for that chaotic state of mind, where it feels like 1,000 people talk at the same time inside your head and nobody understands anyone else.
Like mental static.
Exactly. In India, it's similar to the concept of Maya illusion. It's this internal fog that blinds us from seeing who we really are underneath all the judgments and beliefs.
So in this state, ruled by fear and the mitote, what does the author say is our biggest fear? It's not what you might expect.
No, he suggests it's actually not death. Our biggest fear is taking the risk to be alive and express what we really are.
Being authentic.
Being truly authentic. We reject ourselves because we don't fit this image of perfection that we've absorbed from the collective dream, from that book of law. So we wear social masks, we hide, and ultimately this leads to profound self-abuse, a deep-seated self-rejection.
Okay, so if we're stuck in this dream of hell, ruled by this judge and victim, based on beliefs we didn't choose, how on earth do we break free? Is there a way out?
There is. That's where the hope comes in. The author explains that we have literally thousands of these agreements with ourselves, with others, with society, even with God, and they define our personality. Now, the fear-based agreements, they drain our energy constantly. But love-based agreements, they actually conserve and even generate energy.
But the challenge is, our power is all tied up in maintaining the old ones.
Exactly. Our personal power is spent creating and maintaining these old, limiting, fear-based agreements, so we feel powerless to change them. We're stuck.
So what's the solution he offers?
The solution is elegant, really. 4 incredibly powerful new agreements. These are designed specifically to help you break those old fear-based ones, reclaim your personal power, and actively transform that dream of hell into your own personal dream of heaven.
All right, let's dive into them. The first agreement. Be impeccable with your word. This sounds important.
He says it's the most important and often the most difficult one to master.
Why is the word so powerful?
Because your word is your creative power. It's described as a gift, a force, your most potent tool for magic. It literally shapes your reality, for better or for worse.
Magic, that sounds mystical.
Well, think of it this way. The word has this dual nature, like a sword with 2 edges. It can create the most beautiful dream, or it can destroy everything around you and inside you. One edge is the misuse of the word gossip, blame, self-criticism, which creates a living hell. The other edge is the impeccability of the word speaking truth, speaking love, which creates beauty, love, and eventually heaven on earth.
He gives a pretty stark example of the negative power, doesn't he? With Hitler.
He does, a vivid example.
Right.
One man in Germany, Hitler, who, by the use of the word, manipulated an entire country and ultimately much of the world into war. It just demonstrates the immense, almost terrifying power of the word to plant seeds of fear and activate destructive forces on a massive scale.
So our minds are like fertile ground for these words.
Exactly. He says the mind is like fertile ground, and words, whether they're opinions, ideas, judgments, are like seeds planted in that ground, and a single word can cast a powerful spell. Think about a parent, maybe casually, calling a child's singing voice ugly.
Oh, yeah.
If the child believes it, accepts that word, that judgment, it can become a lifelong agreement, leading to decades of self-rejection around their voice or creativity.
But words can break spells, too.
Absolutely. Conversely, a word can break a spell. Think of someone telling you sincerely, "You're not stupid, you're actually really smart in this way," and you believe them. That word can free you from a limiting belief you've carried for years.
Okay, so let's get specific. What does impeccable actually mean here? Is it about being perfect?
Not exactly perfect in the moral sense. Impeccable literally means without sin. But sin, in this Toltec context, isn't about religious morality. A sin is anything you do that goes against yourself. Anything that involves self-rejection.
So self-rejection is the biggest sin.
It's the biggest sin, yes. He even calls it a mortal sin because it leads to a kind of inner death, a shutting down of your life force. So impeccability, being without sin, means not going against yourself. It leads to life, to vitality.
So being impeccable with your word means not using it against yourself.
Fundamentally, yes. Don't use your creative power, your word, against yourself. This also extends to others. If you insult someone else, you're actually hurting yourself because that generates hate, negativity, which inevitably comes back to you. It poisons your own world.
But if you love yourself,
If you love yourself, you express that love through your words, and that tends to evoke a similar reaction. It's about using your energy correctly, directing it towards truth and self-love. Your words become a clear mirror reflecting that inner state.
and what about gossip? He's pretty strong on that one.
Oh, yeah. Gossip is presented as black magic at its very worst. Pure poison. He calls it a computer virus for the human mind that clogs communication and creates the mitote, that internal chaos.
And we do it to ourselves too, right? The negative self-talk.
Yeah. Constantly. I look fat. I'm so stupid. I'll never be good enough. I'm such an idiot. We use our words against ourselves all the time, reinforcing those negative agreements.
So for you listening, what's the promise here? If you really practice this first agreement,
The promise is huge. If you become impeccable with your word, emotional poison starts to cleanse from your mind. You gain immunity from the negative spells cast by others, and your own mind becomes fertile ground for the words that come from love. This alone, the author claims, can change your life dramatically, transforming fear into joy and love. It can lead you to the kingdom of heaven from this one agreement alone. It's that foundational.
wow. Okay, that leads perfectly into the second agreement. Don't take anything personally. How does this connect to the first?
Well, it's really born from the first one. If you understand the power of the word and you strive to be impeccable, you start to realize that what other people say is their word, coming from their dream, their agreements.
So it's not actually about me.
Almost never. The insight is simple but profound. What others do or say is a reflection of their own internal world, their own book of law, their own mitote. If someone insults you, maybe they call you stupid. Taking it personally means you agree with their assessment. You buy into their poison, ingest it, and make it your own.
He calls taking things personally the maximum expression of selfishness.
That's selfishness. It sounds harsh, but think about it. It's assuming that everything revolves around me, that everything people say or do is somehow directed at me or is a comment on me. But people live in their own dream, their own minds. When you take something personally, you're essentially trying to impose your world, your me-centered view, onto theirs, and that just creates unnecessary conflict and suffering for yourself.
So if you can manage not to take things personally, what happens?
You become, as he puts it, immune in the middle of hell. Even if the world around you is chaotic or negative, it doesn't have to penetrate you. You don't feel offended easily. You don't feel the need to constantly defend your beliefs or your ego. You don't get drawn into pointless conflicts.
Because you see what others say or do
As simply a projection of their own personal dream. It's about them, their movie, not yours.
That leads to a really powerful kind of self-awareness, doesn't it? He has that quote about someone saying, "You hurt me."
Yes, it's a crucial point. You may even tell me, Miguel, what you are saying is hurting me. But it is not what I am saying that is hurting you. It is that you have wounds that I touch by what I have said. You are hurting yourself.
So the pain we feel is actually highlighting our own unhealed wounds.
Exactly. Another person's words might trigger the pain, but the pain itself comes from our own internal landscape, our own unhealed agreements and beliefs. Their words are just pressing on a sore spot that's already there.
He also links this to self-abuse, which is interesting.
Very much so. He suggests that the level of abuse we tolerate from others is directly related to the level of abuse we inflict on ourselves through the inner judge and victim. If someone abuses you just a little bit less than you abuse yourself, you'll likely stay in that situation because it feels familiar, almost normal.
Wow. So more self-love means less tolerance for external abuse.
The more self-love we have, the less we will experience self-abuse, both internal and external. It sets a higher standard for how you allow yourself to be treated, starting with how you treat yourself.
So the payoff for this second agreement, if you really make it a habit,
Huge freedom. When you make it a strong habit not to take anything personally, things like anger, jealousy, envy, even sadness start to dissipate because they often arise from taking things personally. This agreement, especially when combined with the first one, he claims can break maybe 75% of the teeny tiny agreements that keep you trapped in hell.
75%? That's massive.
It is. You gain immense freedom. You become immune to those black magicians, the people who spread emotional poison.
Yeah.
You could, theoretically, travel around the world with your heart completely open and no one can hurt you because nothing external can touch your core sense of self.
Okay, agreement number 3. Don't make assumptions. This seems like a practical one we all struggle with.
Oh, absolutely. We have this very strong tendency to make assumptions about practically everything. And worse, we believe our assumptions are the truth.
And then what happens?
Then we often take those assumptions personally, connecting back to agreement 2. We find someone to blame, we react, and we often send emotional poison out into the world, frequently through gossip, all based on something we just made up in our heads.
We're asking for problems, as he says.
Pretty much sums it up, yeah.
Why do we do it so much? Why assume instead of finding out?
Well, that metote, that chaos in our minds, it causes us to constantly misinterpret and misunderstand things. We have gaps in our knowledge and our minds rush to fill them in. We literally dream things up in our imaginations. He gives the example of seeing someone smile at you across the room and immediately creating an entire fantasy relationship based on that one little input.
Right.
We fill in all the blanks with our own hopes, fears, and beliefs.
And this must be a huge source of conflict in relationships.
Massive. We assume our partners know what we think, what we feel, what we want, without us actually having to communicate it clearly.
The classic you should have known expectation.
Exactly. Which is based entirely on an assumption. And when they inevitably don't meet our unstated expectations, we feel hurt, betrayed, angry, all stemming from an assumption we made. It creates immense conflict and misunderstanding.
So why do we default to assuming? Is it laziness? Fear?
The author suggests a couple of reasons. One is we have this deep need to justify everything, to understand, to make sense of the world, because uncertainty feels unsafe. Assumptions provide a quick, easy, though often wrong, explanation. Another big reason is we often lack the courage to simply ask questions. Asking feels vulnerable. What if they say no? What if the answer isn't what we want?
So we make assumptions to avoid potential discomfort.
Right. We also assume that everyone sees life the way we do, that their book of law is the same as ours. This leads to a fear of being ourselves around others because we assume they'll judge us according to our internal rules, even though they have their own different set.
And we make assumptions about ourselves too, right? Like trying to change someone.
Definitely. We make assumptions about our own capabilities or limitations, often based on past experiences or old agreements. And yes, a big one is assuming we can change other people, thinking, oh, my love will change this person. The author is very clear. That's usually false. People change only if they want to change from within. You can't force it or assume your influence will be enough.
So what does real love look like in this context, without assumptions?
Real love, he emphasizes, involves accepting others exactly as they are right now without trying to change them to fit your assumptions or desires. It means clear communication, basically. If you love me the way I am, okay, great, take me. If you don't love me the way I am, okay, that's fine too. Bye-bye. Find someone else.
That sounds blunt, but incredibly clear.
It is direct, but it cuts through all the confusion and potential hurt caused by assumptions. It creates profound clarity in relationships.
So for you listening, what's the antidote to making assumptions?
It's simple, but requires courage. Ask questions. Have the courage to ask until you are truly clear. Don't guess. Don't fill in the blanks. Ask. Find your voice to ask for what you want directly. Communicate clearly what you expect or need.
And the benefit of doing that?
When you stop making assumptions, your communication becomes clean, clear, and free of emotional poison. This makes your word impeccable, linking back to Agreement 1, and it resolves so many unnecessary human problems and conflicts. Your relationships transform.
All right, that brings us to the fourth and final agreement. Always do your best. How does this one fit in?
This is the agreement that really makes the other three operational. It allows the first three to become deeply ingrained habits over time.
What does doing your best actually mean? Is it about pushing yourself to the limit all the time?
No, and that's a crucial distinction. It means doing no more and no less than your best, under any circumstance. But the key is that your best changes constantly.
Changes how?
Your best is never going to be the same from one moment to the next. It changes depending on your energy levels, your health, your mood. If you're sick or tired, Your best will naturally be different than when you're feeling healthy and energetic.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It takes the pressure off trying to be perfect all the time.
Exactly. And he points out the pitfalls of not hitting that sweet spot. Trying too hard, doing more than your best, actually depletes your energy unnecessarily and can lead to burnout. It isn't sustainable.
And doing less than your best.
Doing less than your best. Well, that opens the door for the inner judge. It leads to self-judgment, guilt, and regrets later on. I should have tried harder. I could have done more.
Right. So it's about finding that authentic level of effort for yourself in any given moment without overdoing it or slacking off.
Precisely. He tells a story about a man meditating.
Oh yeah, the one about meditating longer.
That's the one. The man asks the master if meditating 8 hours a day will help him transcend faster than meditating 4 hours. And the master replies, surprisingly, that it would actually take longer with 8 hours.
Why longer?
Because, the master explains, you are not here to sacrifice your joy or your life. You are here to live, to be happy, and to love. Forcing yourself beyond your genuine best undermines the whole point. Do your best, whatever that is, and importantly, enjoy the process.
So it's not about rigid self-improvement, it's about embracing life through action.
Exactly. Doing your best means you take action primarily because you love doing it, because the action itself feels right, not because you're solely focused on some external reward, like someone who hates their job but only does it for the payday.
And when you enjoy the action.
When you enjoy the action itself, when the process is its own reward, the author suggests that other rewards, success, abundance, recognition, tend to come naturally and effortlessly as a byproduct.
How does doing your best silence the inner judge?
Because if you genuinely know in your heart that you did the best you could in that specific moment with the energy and resources you had then, the judge has no ammunition. You can look back and say, okay, maybe the outcome wasn't perfect, but I truly did my best. This frees you from guilt, blame, and self-punishment.
And learning from mistakes.
Learning from mistakes simply becomes part of doing your best. It means you practice, you honestly evaluate the results without judgment, and you continue to do your best, incorporating what you learned. There's no room needed for self-recrimination, just adjustment and continued effort.
He emphasizes action over inaction, too.
Very strongly. Action, he insists, is about living fully. Inaction, often driven by fear, like sitting paralyzed by fear, is seen as denying life, denying the impulse to express yourself.
And the Forrest Gump example.
Yeah, he uses Forrest Gump as a perfect illustration of someone who just consistently does his best at whatever he's doing without analyzing it too much or expecting a specific reward. He just acts. And as a result, he ends up being richly rewarded in unexpected ways.
So doing your best becomes almost like a ritual.
Yes, he suggests making doing your best a daily ritual, like a puja, an act of devotion to your body, to life itself. It's about honoring God, or the life force, if you prefer, by living fully, taking action, letting go of the past, and engaging completely with the present moment.
It becomes a communion with life.
Beautifully put. Yeah.
So for you, the listener, how does this fourth agreement tie it all together?
Remember, the first 3 agreements, being impeccable with your word, not taking things personally, not making assumptions, they only really take root and become habits if you consistently apply this 4th agreement. Always do your best in practicing them. You won't be perfect immediately. Don't expect that. Just keep showing up, keep practicing, keep doing your best each day. This ongoing practice is what makes you a master of transformation. It's like planting seeds of love in the fertile ground of your mind, replacing the seeds of fear. This leads ultimately to self-love, self-respect, and creating a truly beautiful life for yourself, free from that old dream of hell.
So these 4 agreements together form a path out of that domestication, out of the mito.
They form a very practical path towards personal freedom. And true freedom, the author stresses, isn't really about your external circumstances changing. It's the freedom to be who we really are.
Like a child.
Exactly like a child, maybe 2 to 4 years old. They're completely wild, spontaneous, living totally in the present moment, unafraid to express love, unafraid to play, not yet burdened by the book of law. That, he says, is our natural state.
So what happened to us adults? How did we lose that?
Well, the book of law, the big judge and the victim took over. They rule our lives, they enslave us in a way. We might blame other people or situations, but ultimately, the author argues, we are the ones stopping ourselves from being free.
So the first step is just realizing we're not free. Awareness.
Awareness is absolutely the crucial first step. Realizing that you are not free, that your mind is controlled by this system you didn't consciously choose. Only then can you begin to rebel.
Rebel against what?
Against the parasite, as the Toltecs sometimes call it. The parasite is the judge, the victim, and the entire belief system based on fear. It lives in your mind, controls your dream, and literally feeds on the negative emotions generated by fear.
So the Toltecs see themselves as dream masters.
Yes, people who recognize it's all a dream and choose to change their dream. This path involves mastering 3 things: awareness, seeing the dream; transformation, learning how to change the dream; and intent, the power of life itself, which they equate with unconditional love.
And there are different ways to deal with this parasite.
He mentions 3 paths to destroy it. 1 is facing your fears one by one, confronting each limiting belief. That's effective but slow. Another is to stop feeding the parasite by controlling your emotional reactions, starving it of the negative emotions it thrives on. This is very difficult because we're addicted to those emotions. Or there's what he calls the initiation of the dead.
That sounds dramatic. It's not literal death, right?
No, not literal physical death. It's a symbolic death of the parasite, the ego structure built on fear without harming the physical body. It requires immense courage because it means letting go of everything you thought you were.
Okay, let's unpack that art of transformation a bit more. It's about consciously changing our internal programming.
Exactly. It involves consciously shifting from the dream of the first attention, that's the dream of domestication, the default software society gave you, to the dream of the second attention,
Wishes.
your new chosen dream. The one you create intentionally, based on love and truth, using tools like the 4 agreements. It means taking a fearless inventory of all those fear-based beliefs you hold and actively reprogramming your own mind.
So the 4 agreements are like the tools for that reprogramming.
They are like a declaration of war against the parasite, a way to reclaim your freedom. Every time you successfully practice an agreement, you break one of those tiny old fear-based agreements and you reclaim a little bit of personal power.
But it takes time. It's not instant.
Yes. Definitely not instant. He acknowledges we are doubly addicted to our old ways of being. The drama, the suffering, the judging. Feels familiar, but repetition makes the master. Consistent practice is key.
And this requires discipline, like a warrior.
Yes, he talks about the discipline of the warrior. This isn't about aggression, but about controlling your own behavior, your own emotions. Not repressing emotions, but choosing when and how to express them consciously, rather than just reacting automatically.
He uses the metaphor of infected skin.
Right. The human mind, wounded by domestication, is like infected skin covered with emotional poison. Even a light touch can cause immense pain and reaction because the wounds are raw.
So what's the cure for those wounds?
The cure ultimately is forgiveness. But crucially, it's not primarily about forgiving others for what they did. It's about forgiving yourself.
Forgiving yourself for what?
For believing the lies, for judging yourself, for rejecting yourself, for playing the victim. Forgiveness is what releases the burden of the past, the emotional poison.
And how do you know when you've truly forgiven?
True forgiveness, he says, is when you can recall the past wound, the past event, and you no longer feel an emotional reaction. The charge is gone. The poison is drained. He says the truth is like a scalpel. It can be painful initially because it opens up those hidden wounds, cuts through the denial system we build to protect them, but it's necessary for true healing.
Okay, back to that initiation of the dead. What does that teach us practically?
It teaches us to live every single day as if it is the last day of our lives.
How would that change things?
Well, think about it. If you knew you only had 1 week left to live, how would you live it? You'd likely stop worrying about petty things. You'd choose happiness. You'd be your authentic self without fear. You'd express love freely and without reservation.
You wouldn't waste time on fear or judgment.
Exactly. The angel of death, in this symbolic sense, comes to take away the past, all the regrets and burdens, allowing us to live fully and intensely right now in the present.
So when we die symbolically to the old self, the parasite dies too.
That's the idea. The parasite, the fear-based ego, dies. And we experience a kind of resurrection. We become childlike again, wild, free, spontaneous, but now with the wisdom gained through the process. We reclaim our healthy minds, our true nature, and we get to live our own lives, run by our own truth, not the borrowed program of domestication.
So wrapping this all up,
Yeah.
what does this really mean for you, the person listening right now?
The author essentially invites you to forget everything you have learned, meaning question all those agreements you never chose and realize that your life, your dream, is ultimately your creation. You have the power within you right now to continue creating hell or you have the power to start creating heaven.
Just imagine that for a moment. Living a life free of internal conflict, free from the constant fear of judgment from yourself or others, free to express your dreams without hesitation, truly loving yourself exactly the way you are.
He insists these things are all entirely possible. It's not some distant fantasy.
And the key is love.
Only love, he says, has the ability to put you in that state of bliss, that experience of heaven on earth, which he equates with truth. This isn't just a nice feeling, it's aligning with the fundamental nature of reality. This state of being is the lost paradise humanity has been seeking for centuries, and he sees it as the potential future of humanity if we choose this path.
But it can feel scary to let go of the old ways, right? Even the suffering.
Absolutely. You might feel attached to the judge and the victim. It sounds strange, but he notes that sometimes suffering makes you feel safe because you know it so well. It's familiar territory.
But still a choice.
Always a choice. He states it plainly. The only reason you suffer is because you choose to suffer. Happiness is a choice, and so is suffering. It puts the power and the responsibility squarely back in your hands.
So we face a fundamental choice. Suffer our destiny or enjoy our destiny. Live in hell or live in heaven.
That's the ultimate choice he presents, and the choice is entirely yours to make right now.
Wow. We've journeyed through some incredibly profound wisdom from Don Miguel Ruiz's The Four Agreements today. From understanding that smoky mirror and how we become domesticated, to wielding our word impeccably, taking nothing personally, stopping the assumptions, and always doing our best. These really aren't just abstract concepts, are they? They're powerful, practical actions for a truly transformative life, a way to break free from those unseen forces.
Absolutely. And the core message weaving through it all is the power of your choice. You can actively participate in your own liberation. You can choose to be a warrior, fighting against that internal parasite of judgment and victimhood, reclaiming your power day by day. Or you can choose to remain surrendered to the old dream, the dream of hell.
It's okay if we slip up, right? He addresses that.
Oh, definitely. He reminds us that even if we fall, even if we break an agreement, which we will, especially at first, the key is to just stand up again. Be tough with yourself in the sense of getting back up, but do it without judgment. Choose to start again, living these agreements just for today. It's about conscious, continuous effort, not instant perfection.
So if the greatest fear really isn't death, but the risk of being fully alive, expressing who you truly are,
Then cultivating these agreements isn't just about changing a few bad habits. It's about something much deeper. It's about reclaiming your essential wildness, your authenticity. And as the Toltec suggests, making it possible to experience that heaven on earth, not in some afterlife, but right here, right now. The question left for you is, what choice will you make about the dream you're living?